Good morning, everyone. I can see some of you there, and give me about 5 minutes to get everything sorted. I can see 10 of you are there. I guess you could see me and hear me now. And don't be camera shy. You are seeing me. I would like to see your faces too, later, if not at the moment. What I'm doing now is just to checking everything and to make sure the technology is working well and everything is set and ready to go. So give me 5 minutes. I will reappear here. Screen. Sharing. Sound. Make sure the sound is working. Okay. I am back and I can hear the sound that people keep coming in. That's a great sign. And it's a little bit weird that you can see me or I can't see you. I would love to see you. So I know some of you may not have a camera. That's fine, but I know the majority of you would have a camera there. So come and say hello. Anyone? Come on, you should be able to hear me. Let me check my sound. I think you should be able to hear me. I need some reaction from you so that I know. Okay, here comes the chat box. Morning. Okay, good. Good morning, Sam. And Steph, I am trying to figure out how to add a profile picture. You know, you can add your background image as well. You should be able to choose whether to use an UNSW background or whatever, you know, scenery views or cartoon world or space, whichever. Yeah, Zoom allows you to, you know, choose whichever background you prefer. And Fei Jiang, hello. And Tian Chang, Joyce, good. And You are typing. You're just typing. Don't be camera shy. And later, I would ask everybody just to, say hi to each other. Yeah. So currently we have 28 people. So we'll just keep waiting, and we'll get started at 9:05 each time. 9:05. And currently in Sydney, it's 9:02. Oh, hello, Karina. I see you there. Good. Finally got someone to show your face. That's great. It's different when you see, when you show your face. Why don't we just do it right now? Let's try. So,
oh, what the fuck?
And other people, let's all show each other our faces. Turn on your camera, because I would like you to see each other, at least for now, please. Great stuff. Yes. Hello. Others. Just come in here and say hi. Great. Now we have 3 people. Others?
No.
Other people, please turn on your camera and say hi to each other, so we know what we look like. And it's quite essential that we know each other. There is an image there, how you look like and how I look like. Alvin, Mingshan, Fei, Xiaojia, Joyce, Yingxin, Maggie, Jinqi, Tiancheng, Qijia, Bao Liling. Turn on your camera now and say hi. Don't be shy.
Next time.
Oh, somebody is typing. Somebody's camera is broken. Nice to meet you, Wen-Kwan. Okay, there's something wrong with your camera. Okay. And for others, I'm pretty sure. Okay, Elian, hello. Great. Iris, hi. And others?
全都没睡醒，我操！哎呦，我屌你妈！
I can hear somebody speaking in Chinese saying somebody it's still sleeping, huh? What about other people? I can only see 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 of us. Would love to see your faces. Let me know, how you look like, what you look like. It's okay if you are in pajamas. I'm just, not wearing very formal clothes either, just sweater, casual clothes. Okay, Jia Yan, good. Jia Yun, okay. And Janet, great. And I'm expecting more people to turn on your camera and let us to see each other. It's okay if you're still in bed. It's okay. Just say hi. Just quickly to say hi. Matter. Does not matter. Great, Faye, I can see you. Hi.
I can see somebody.
And Qifeng, I can see you great. Nice to meet you. Okay, Xin Yu, great. Yeah, and others are connecting, waiting for the name to show. Okay, and others, let's see each other. It's important. We have this, visual connection, at least, as we can't stay in the room physically, face to face. Online, we still need to recreate that environment, that learning environment and community. That's quite essential. Yeah. And on the first page, I'm waiting to see Haoran, Mingshan, Joyce, Yingxin, Maggie, Jinqi, and Tiancheng, and Ling Hui for the first page. We'll just do our best for now. Yeah. I know some of you are still sleeping. That's all right. So later, when you all are awake, yeah, we can do this again. Okay. Okay, now it's 9:08. Let's get started. Yeah, shall we? So now what I'm going to do is to share the screen with you. But just in a moment, let me just introduce myself for the time being. So my name is Pan Wang, and you could call me Pan. Yeah. And I'm your lecturer and convener of the course. For me, my teaching area is in China studies, Chinese studies, and gender studies, media, and communication. I also taught a variety of other subjects in this area, include China in world history, contemporary history of China, and traditional Chinese history, and Chinese philosophy, etc., etc. And for my research area, I am doing research in gender and media in China. And my PhD thesis was about intercultural marriages in China. So I'll show you just in a minute the cover image of my book. And it's just, let me share with you my screen now. And here we go. And what I'm going to do is to find my lecture slide here. Will you be able to see my screen now? The slide. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah. And now I would ask people to mute your mic so we can avoid all kinds of background noises. And please feel free to talk anytime, asking questions or express your comments or ideas throughout the lecture. Yeah. So for me, my expectation for us is we're creating this e-community where everyone could express their opinions freely, and we create this intellectual environment, and everybody, I want you to be engaged with the topic, engage with me, and engage with each other. Okay. So, and let's move on. As you could see. Okay, great. So this is me, my contact. This is my name and my email address. I'm on level 2, Marvin Brown 246. And my consultation time, let's just do that by email. So when you want to talk to me or talk to your tutor later, James, and just email us, and then I'll book a virtual appointment with you. We could do that via Zoom, or we could do that via Team, or whichever platform you prefer. So first one, we need to get to know each other. Just now. Okay, so just now I had to turn on your camera, and I saw some faces, which is great. And then I would expect more of us will turn on your camera later and say hi. Okay, so let's just get you to try to see. Let me see if you could annotate this slide by circling the place, the country that you are currently in. Let me know if you could annotate this slide. I think you should be able to. Just now I set it. Just simply use the pen here on the bar, which says annotate. Click on that and then choose a pen, or you can type. And later you can type. We can use whiteboard function to let you typing, but now, hey, simply just circle. Good. I saw people circling Australia. Yeah. And China, the southern part of China, isn't it? The southeast of China, and Australia also on the east part. And Korea, North Korea. Is it North Korea? Is it South Korea? It is North Korea. Okay. And other countries, do we have people coming from other countries? Japan, yeah, some of us are currently residing in Japan. Okay. And I would say mostly are in Australia, right? Oh, and Vietnam, good. Yeah. So this part of the world. Yeah. And okay, I can see in China, there in the north, towards the north, and others. Okay, so that's where we are currently reside in, right? Great to know that, and lovely to see that people actually are participating by annotating this slide. We'll do more to, further engage people. So this is just to get to know each other, and let me see if I can move my slide. Oh, yeah. A sec. Okay, here. Back to this slide. So the second thing we were going to talk about is our course information. And third, we'll be going through some of the key concepts and touching on some of the theories, and to explore what is, actually gender study. What are we doing, every Tuesday morning? And then we'll have a look at the brief history of women's movement in China. And some of the key vocabularies here include sex, gender, cisgender, patriarchy, gender stereotypes, gender role socialization, different types of feminism. And I have to use my mouth. I can't use my keyboard. Okay, key information. Let me see here. 1 sec. So what is the course, exactly? So the course explores the dramatic changes to the gender and sexuality norms in China. So from past to present, and how different groups of people are influenced by these different forces and these changes, and the implications of such changes. Specifically, we will explore how gender and sex are governed by the state, the legal systems, and the campaigns launched by different parties, for example, activists and reformers. What about, what is their agenda in terms of gender and mobility, gendered inequalities at workplace, at home, in different domains in our everyday life, and the challenges to gender diversity in China. And also we'll look at LGBTQIA topic, their culture and their rights, and also the changing connotation of Chinese masculinity and how gender is constructed in media and popular culture. So if you see our course outline, you see the weekly schedule where you would see the outline of some of these topics. So our aim, let me tell you why we're doing this course. The purpose for us to do this course together is I want you to think about the gender politics in our everyday life. I want you to have this gender awareness. For example, these would include social construction of gender and the role of gender in political and social life and in every domains in our life. How is gender played out? How is gender relations played out? And why is that? And the causes and influence of gender inequality. I want you to be able to look at our world from a gender perspective. Yeah. And I saw the messages that you left on the greeting wall. Thanks very much for those who actually participated in that activity. And I know that you are from different disciplinary backgrounds. Yeah. And I would like you to use your disciplinary knowledge to analyze gender, because gender is interdisciplinary. It does not exist alone. Okay. And I want you to be able to use the knowledge, the information that you gained from this course, and use them to unfold the hidden gender issues in our everyday life. You know, a lot of things around us we're taking for granted, right? And they're hidden. And I want you to have this pair of glass to be able to see that clearly. And also the gendered power relations, you know, like power relations, this thing, it's something you can't see, but you can feel, right? But a lot of people can't even feel. But once you have this gender awareness, you've learned this topic, you would be able to identify, to discover such power relations around you. Yeah. And then the next step is to tackle that. Yeah. So currently we are on the first step. And then I want you to be able to reflect and challenge the gender concepts that institutionalized in our everyday life, and be able to, reflect and challenge the existing gender stereotypes and the inequalities, etc. And also to compare gender in China with other cultures and other countries. Yeah. And on all of these aims are linked to the course learning outcomes. So for our teaching strategies, we have a 3-hour lecture and 1-hour tutorial. And so within this 3 hour, I would like us to have 2 breaks in the middle. I know it's a little bit long, but we can handle that. Yeah, I will keep you engaged. And so we'll have around 6 to 7 minutes break in the middle, and we stay together within this 3 hours and talking about different topics in relation to gender in China. We will have in-class activities and discussions in both lectures and tutorials. So for the lecture, we'll have some quizzes, group discussion, and both in Zoom and also Blackboard Collaborate. There is a breakout room function, so that allows us to discuss the topics in group. Yeah, and you will see each other and talk to each other further in the tutorial. And for the tutorial, it is centered on the presentation, the assessment. and also reading discussion, plus some small activities. But in the lecture, it's blended. It's like a seminar style, and it's not just me talking. Yeah, it's all of us. We are studying, co-constructing this lesson. Yeah, this is my expectation. So I want engagement with you. I want to recreate this, face-to-face lecture, that atmosphere, that environment. And
the point was for the consultation.
I can hear people talking. I can't really hear you very clearly. Could you repeat? Were you talking to me? Or, okay, that's all right. But feel free to talk, because I didn't really catch anyone. Is that you? I think the internet connection isn't very good, because I can't hear you speaking that clear. It's just Let's see. I hope the internet will be fine later, so that I would be able to answer your question. I assume there was a question, right? But if that was a question about assessment, we'll be talking about that further. Somebody's phone is ringing. Just please mute your mic if you could. But we could avoid this phone ringing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, sorry. It's telling you 9814@gmail.com.
Is there somebody talking over the phone with somebody else, or attempting to talk to me? If you're talking to somebody else, please mute your mic. Yeah. All right. And for now, let's move on. For the tutorials, yes, as mentioned, that's you're demonstrating your understanding about a small research project that you're doing, and that a small research project is a gender case study. Let me just go through that later on. When we are talking about the assessment, and for the next point, we are going to adopt a multi-model approach.
Could you just
for this course.
An email?
And we are going to use a variety of texts, include audio, visual. So, Yiyu, I can hear you're talking. If you're talking to somebody over the phone, please go to the other room and talk. Or mute your mic.
Yellow, YU.
Give me a sec to see if I can do this. I can mute somebody's mic. Yeah. Okay. It is muted now, so don't worry. Everything would be good. Yeah. And moving on now to the next point. So we'll also have some articles for you. I'll send the links to the references for you in the section, for each week's section. You'll see that in Moodle. So basically, we're using a variety of texts as an approach to analyze gender in China, and also, of course, a comparative perspective as well. And I welcome your feedback anytime. And I would like us to reflect on our learning together. And actually, there is one optional assessment for you, which is critical reflection of the lessons that you learned from the weekly lecture and tutorial. So we can do that all together. We could perhaps leave 15 minutes to 20 minutes each lesson at the very end that I'm helping you with this critical reflection writing. So you are welcome to ask me any questions while you're doing this reflection. Yeah, we'll see how time goes. We are going to do this from next week. Yeah. So moving on to the next slide. So this is the structure. Okay, 3-hour lecture, 1-hour tutorial, and also week 6. Week 6 is flexibility week. That means you have 1 week off. And so lectures with as for now, it starts from 9 to 12. And I know there's time difference, right? There's time difference. And some people, according to what you just annotated on that slide, it must be around 7:30 something in China at the moment for those in China, and also those who also in Vietnam, in North Korea, there's time difference too. And I understand that, but I would hope you can. I want you to join this live lecture, and because conversation engagement is very important. If just me talking to myself, I could just record the lecture and upload it to Moodle or use last year's, and that's very easy for me. But I don't want that. I just want the quality, of our learning. So that's why I encourage people to join the live lecture, and let's talk to each other while I talk. Yeah, it's a little bit different, really. For me, just talking, to the computer rather than, we staying together face to face. It's different. It's all right. And we have 3 tutorials. The first one is face to face, and the second and third one are both online. And class timetable, you could see through that link. And I have uploaded the PDF version of the lecture slide to Moodle for this week. And you would be able to click on the link when you open the file. Next, I can't use my mouth. I can't use my keyboard. Weird. Okay, I'll just click. I think that will work better. So course resources they're all in Moodle. So you would be able to see the subject outline there, and the weekly lecture and tutorial recordings, assessment brief, etc. Let me just share with you my screen. I log on to Moodle so that you can see what I'm talking about. One sec. That is my email address. And one sec. I am going to get this because I opened a lot of pages, and I should just close them up. And now I should log on to Moodle. You can also log on to Moodle. And here we go. And now I could share with you. Back to sharing mode. Back to sharing mode. You should be able to see my screen now. And we are going to use Moodle. And I am going to show you our course page, the resources, the links that you need to know and use. 0455. Here. So this is our grading wall, and I hope those who haven't posted your message there, please do so, because I would love to see everybody appears there and say hello. And so next, for the course information section, you will see this is our course outline. This is the reading list, and this is the live lecture, and the live lecture recordings would be available an hour after our online lecture. And for the tutorials, simply click here. Yeah, that's a different platform that you will experience. We would like to give you different digital experience when you are doing this course. And assessment information is here. Assessment brief, assessment marking rubrics, and some examples of the gender case study. And this section is about the learning activity. So basically, this is the discussion forum. And if you would like to discuss any topics, you can click on here and start the, a discussion. So people would respond, people would reply to your message, etc. And this is just for you to sign for the presentation, but this is not in a hurry now. Just simply do that afterwards. James will give you more information about that. And for assessment submission, in this section, you will see there are different submission portals. The first one is presentation plus transcript. Second one, personal interpretation. Third one is the writing task. Oh yes, we just have 3 assessments, right? So they're all here. And this is the writing task submission cover sheet as a routine practice. We all, for you, when you submit work, simply just attach that cover sheet. And then when you submit the writing task. And below sections are the weekly topics, etc. So you'll see more resources later on. So we are back to here. And in case people haven't seen the grading wall, and click on that, I'll see who are there. You see a lot of people so far, but not all of us. Yeah, so I am expecting more of you. Yeah, because we have 90 people in this course. Yeah, that's not enough yet. And let me, as we are currently in Moodle, let me just click on the assessment brief and go through the assessments with you. Yeah, please feel free to ask any questions if you need. Yeah, and it's good to see some faces at the same time, so that I know you're there. Okay, and let me click on assessment brief here and go through the assessment one by one. So the first one is presentation plus transcript. That's 25%. And we'll start that from week 2 to week 9. And week 2 is optional. And if you want to, get this done, and you can move on to other assessments. So what you are going to do is you are going to present your understanding about a case that's selected by yourself in relation to this particular week's topic. And so what you do is you prompt discussion with your peers. And currently, as we're having a big number of participants, that's around 90. So that means our presentation will need to be shortened. That would be around 5 minutes to 10 maximum per person. Yeah, so 5 minutes would not include discussion. And you can do that in pairs as well. You can do that in pairs, then that would be 10 minutes for 2 people, excluding discussion time. And James will be giving you more information on that. And the feedback will be provided to you via a rubric through Turnitin. Yeah, you can see the rubric already. They're all in Moodle. And the case, what exactly is the case we're doing? It can be sourced from the media, such as newspapers, magazines, television, radio, advertising, or social media, different media formats, different content, or it could be your experience, your observation, or anything you want. Basically, it's a gender case. I want you to start with a small gender case and then analyze it deep. Yeah. Please don't just talk about like a big gender topic. We don't want that. We want you to start with small and analyze deep. And examples, I have provided you with some examples, and you will see that in Moodle. So topics could include, say, migrant women's life in Chinese cities. We know it's very hard for migrants in urban, in cosmopolitan cities. Yeah, and especially for women. So what actually, happening? What's their life like? And the gendered mobility around that, and China's masculinity crisis, same-sex weddings, or the growing popularity of China's sex education camps. And we all know there's no formal sex education in China, in China's schools, middle schools, secondary schools, universities even. So that's why you start to see more and more schools or NGOs, they're running this kind of summer camps to teach people about sex. So this is a very interesting phenomenon to explore. And you can certainly discuss with your topic, with your tutor, James, and also with me. I hope your case would not be a replica of the lecture content. Yeah, but you can always analyze this case from different angles. So it's okay if we see there's a repetition of these cases, as long as they are, approached from different perspectives. That's all good. And use at least 2 academic sources for this case study. It could be either with the weekly readings, it could be other additional materials, just deepen that discussion. And using scholarly literature to deepen your analysis of that. So think you only have 5 minutes. So that should not be like a brief description of the case. It should be focusing on analysis. Yeah, because you have this limited time to express yourself. So make it analytical rather than descriptive. And the aim is to allow you to communicate your ideas, presenting your thoughts, your comments on that case, and then generate discussion with us together as a group. Yeah, and please upload your files plus the transcript to Turnitin via Moodle by 4 p.m. on your presentation day. And this is the first task. Yeah, are we all clear about that? And James will further explain if you are not very clear about this one. Yeah, because he's the one who will be marking that task and then organizing the discussions, the time, etc. And for the second task is personal interpretation. This is 25% due in week 7. That's after week 6, right? So week 6 is flexi week. That means you have 1 week off to do this assessment and, of course, other assessments as well. So 1 week off is always good, right? So you will submit a personalized assessment just to showcase your understanding about gender in China. And this is very, very open-ended and very personalized task. And you will love that, yeah? So it could be in the form of short essay if you think you're very good at writing essays. It could be video if you think you're, good at making documentaries or whatever, shooting, then do that. And it could be a poster. For poster, you can simply use PPT, right? And then save that as PDF file. Very easy. You can, make it creative, whatever. And podcast, it could be even a painting if you're good at drawing. But if just a simply image, that's not enough. I want you to also include your script or explanation on the ideas that you're presenting through image. It could be also ethnographic interview, but if you want to interview somebody, for example, you want to interview a migrant woman living in Beijing, let's say, and you can certainly do that. And what I don't want you to do is to interview your family members. That's too easy, right? And that's quite subjective. And or interview your peers, or interview me, or James, or other staff at UNSW. This is to avoid, but just to think, who are the person you want to interview? Yeah, and then write a piece on to document his or her experience. Yeah, it could be, gay or lesbian or gender, any kind of genders you want you're wanting to do. You can even create a website. I've done a similar assessment task. I used, what was that called? Wix or something. Free website that you could use to create a website. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure you're very good at this digital, thing, and better than me. And you can certainly find a way to do that. And you are encouraged to discuss your proposals with me and also with James. If you're not 100% sure, yeah, I would suggest that. Yeah. So this is a creative assessment. So the point is to get you to interpret your understanding about gender in China and personalize that task, make it creative. At the same time, make sure there are arguments, there are points. It's not just like a report or a descriptive piece. I want to see the unique point of view there that you presented, back up by evidence. The evidence here are scholarly references. So you are recommended to use scholarly references to deepen this part of the discussion as well, while making that creative and unique of your own. Yeah. And certainly you can draw your personal experience to finish this task as well, and use our learned theories, for example, feminist theories. And also what I want you to do is to draw on the theories that you've learned from your own discipline. Yeah, so we've got people, say, studying finance, commerce, media and arts, education. I've seen your posts on the grading wall. And why don't you use those discipline knowledge and to analyze gender in China, for example? Say in commerce, you're doing, what is it called? What is this? Cost of benefit analysis, right? And you can certainly use this approach to analyze gender, right? And so you understand, right? This is what I mean. Either theories or approach. Use that and apply that into different disciplines. Yeah, cross disciplines. Yeah, this is, I want to see, something we want to demonstrate. Yeah. And you can also adopt a comparative approach for this topic. For example, comparing gender in China and other countries or other regions. For example, some of you currently are in Vietnam, right? Or in North Korea. You can see there are a lot of similarities, of course, and differences between, say, men and women in China and in those cultures and countries. So find one aspect, for example, education, for example, work, and then expand on that. Yeah. But use a gender lens to analyze the topics that you chose. For the word length here is 1,000 words approximately for written task. It's not a very big task, right? It's 1,000 words. It's just, say 2 to 3 A4 pages, right? With 1.5 space in between, right? And excluding references. Yeah. And video audio submission should be around 6 to 8 minutes. Yeah, equivalent. Please upload your files to the assignment submission box in Moodle by 4 p.m. on Tuesday in week 7. So this is the second assessment. Any questions about it? You're free to ask any questions at any stage.
Hello.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question about the
Sure.
presentation? So for
Yeah.
assessment 1,
Mm-hmm.
because did you say we could?
This
do
is
it
who
with-
is this? Sorry.
This is Jackie.
Jackie, yep.
Yep.
Jiaqi, yep.
Yeah. So did you say we could do it in pairs? Because it doesn't specify. It doesn't say we can on the course outline.
It's okay. We make that because it really depends on the number of enrollments. We have to wait until the last moment to see how many people are actually in this course. So if we have, say, 20 people per class, I think individual assessment is the best. Currently, we have 32 people per class. So that gives people this flexibility to pair up. So that becomes an option. You can either do an individual one or a pair one. So it's your choice.
Yep. All right. Cool. Cheers, mate.
No problem. Yeah. Other people, you got any other questions about the assessments so far? All good? Yeah. All good. People's faces. Smile, yeah. And the third assessment is writing task. That's 50%. Writing task, 50%. You have two options here. The first one is a research essay. So simply select one topic from below. There are 3 choices you could see. The first one is about feminist movements. Second one is about international bread trafficking. The third one is about COVID-19. Yeah, so simply choose one and write up a 2,500 words, excluding footnotes and references. And you could use some of the readings, but use up to 6, right? And you can use other scholarly literature as well for this task. This is option 1. And for the second option is a critical reflection. This is not a critical reflection. This is a 5. So 500 word critical reflection. So that is also 2,500 words, excluding references. So which is equivalent to the first one, the requirement of the research essay. So you write 5 small pieces, and by the end of the term, you submitted that to turn it in on the same portal as the research essay. So for this critical reflection, what you do is simply just critically reflect what you've learned during the week, the concepts that we discussed in the lecture and also in the tutorials based on other people's presentations, the inspirations that you gained from your peers when they're presenting. So we make use of these assessments, people's presentations and the lecture and our discussions. And we draw on the concepts of readings, the theories from the readings, and that mentioned in the lecture later on as well. And then you write a piece on that. Yeah. So you could reflect on anything. So this is your personal reflection. The requirement is make it non-descriptive. I wanted to say this is analytical because this is a critical reflection. So I would draw a Here, critical reflection. So the key word here is critical. Yeah. Where's my eraser? So, the rest of this requirement is all written there. And the submission is by week 10, the last week on Friday, 4 p.m. Yeah, with the assignment cover sheet. So you get a choice. Do whichever you prefer to do. Any questions about all the assessments? Simple. See, we can finish the presentation in class. And for those of you who are interested in doing the critical reflection, you can write, you can take notes during the lecture. And then when you look at those notes together with the lecture slides and etc., and you will be able to get it done on the day. So it can be done right after, the class time as well. And simply use week 6 to get another assessment, personal interpretation done. So that will help you to get it done quick. But I want you to always to think about the topics that we learned and keep thinking about the topic that you will be doing for the personal interpretation task from now, this moment. Yeah. So I think people are clear about the assessment task. Now we are going back to other things. So here you can see in Moodle some examples of gender case study. Here you can see that by yourself later. We don't have to go through that because we will go through the lecture. The lecture content today is equally important. Yeah, just take a look by yourself for the gender case study. So now we are going back to the lecture slide here. I think we've gone through that. And Leganto list. You will see in Moodle, there's a link called reading list. That takes you directly to Leganto. So click on the link and do the readings before you come to the lecture. That's important because you've got information in your head and you got things to say and express in class, which is important. Yep. So next, we are going to talk about gender study, some of the key concepts and key theories. We are going to do that after 5 minutes. You are having 5 minutes break. Yeah. So, let's here again at 10. Yeah. So break is important. And I want you to be engaged and stay, cheered up. Yeah, see you at 10. Hi, we're back. So 10 o'clock, as said, we'll continue from 10. And I think it's essential for you to, after like 50 minutes or so, stand up, walk around. During our break, do some stretches. It's important for your health. So if say you're sitting there for 3 hours in a row, that's not very good for health. Yeah, you have to, stretch your arms and then bodies and water, etc. So please do that. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. I'm going to share with you my screen here. Let's continue with what exactly is gender study, some key concepts and the theories we need to know. So what is gender study? The origin of gender studies, women's studies, and why is that? Because gender is an integrated component of everyday life, and that it originated in women's studies because the purpose was to address the gap and the imbalance in knowledge that result from inadequate incorporation of women in academics. That's why a lot of scholars start to think, we need to study gender. So, now it's basically it starts with women's study. And gender study is interdisciplinary. It is multidisciplinary. It's inseparable from other disciplines. And that encompass disciplines such as sociology, literature, history, psychology, anthropology, media, economics, etc., and your major, etc. That's why, I'm asking you to use your discipline knowledge to write your piece. Yeah, especially to work on the personal interpretation that task. So we should study gender from different perspectives, be it historical, be it cultural or sociological, etc. So in turn, gender perspective can be applied to multiple disciplines as well. For example, the named ones, sociology, political science, biology, law, economics, etc. And because of that, we'll relate theories from other disciplines to inform the study of gender in China. Either theories of gender, media, social, anthropological, or international studies, you name that. And for gender roles and gender relations, it's also something we need to look at. We look at the ways gender interact with race, with ethnicity, with nationality, with class, and other social identities. Yeah, and for example, you can think in COVID-19 at the moment, how is gender intersect with the race? How is gender intersect with a different class? Etc., etc. So later we'll have two examples, and you'll see just simply how gender, intersects with these different elements in COVID-19. And we also look at the political power. We also have a look at the power, the hidden power relations in everyday life, as explained earlier on. So who are the people who are very powerful, and who are those who are powerless? Yeah, and this is a very political thing. So we need to identify that and find out why we're doing that. There are different dimensions of human roles and personalities that are not based on nature, but on social factors. So when there are people, there's a lot of social factors involved. Yeah, and also we study gender to allows us to address the issue of subordination, which means the imbalance of gender power relations and discrimination, like gender discrimination, inequality between men and women, and the forces, in relation to all of these things in various aspects of life, whether in households, in labor markets, in education, political institutions, etc. So one thing we need to be clear is the difference between gender and sex. And so what's the difference between these two? I think a lot of people would have known already. It's very simple, right? The terms gender and sex can be used interchangeably, and sociologists differentiate between the two. When we talk about gender, we're referring to the cultural and social identities of masculinity and femininity that are assigned to different sexes. So gender is socially constructed. Yeah, it's not just born to be. It's socially constructed, and it's the characteristics that a person is expected to have, or the role the person is expected to perform by virtue of being male or female. For example, let's say I am a woman. What am I expected to do? Yeah, I'm, socially expected to be feminine, right? To wear makeup, things like this. And whereas men are not, that's the gender difference there. And also the traits associated with masculinity and femininity could vary across cultures and societies. That's why gender is socially constructed. So different society may have different understanding about gender. And also in terms of times, like periods in history, their understanding about what women should do and shouldn't, their expectations for what men should be doing and not would be quite different from what we expect men and women to do in our society at the moment, right? So that's why gender is socially constructed. Whereas for sex, it's a biological thing. Yeah. However, nowadays, we are no longer bound by such binary concepts of sex, right? Sex is not just, if you see the definition here, it says sex refers to the biological and the physiological characteristics that identify a person as female or male. So currently it's not just a male or female, right? It could be, both. Male, female, it could be female, male, it could be gender neutral, it could be masculine, feminine, dyad, and it's no longer just a male and female. And for me, how do I understand this? I'm having a spectrum in my mind. On the one end of the spectrum, there's male. On the other end, that's female. And there's a lot of genders there in between. And so that's why you see even sex can be not just a defined concept. It keeps changing as well. Yeah. And about gender, here are some videos. So let me ask, what do you see from these two images there? What do you see? Anyone could turn on your mic and say simply, yeah. I think I heard some voice just now. Come on. Don't be shy. It's okay. We can't see each other. If you don't want to show your face, that's fine. You can say anything you like. We wouldn't know who you are because we're not sitting together. But I do want your participation. It's a very simple question. What do you see here?
A lot of floral imagery.
Flora imagery. Yeah. What about gender? What do you see? A woman dressing, dancing. Right? Yeah. So let me just quickly show you the video. You'll see this woman, he's dancing. Yeah. let me ask, can you hear the sound? Can you hear the sound of the video?
No.
Oh, you can't hear the sound of the video? Let's fix the sound later on. And I think you should be able to hear the audio. I think there's one way. And you should be able to hear this. So if I share screen. Okay. What about now? What did you see? A woman was singing.
I think it's a very opera performance.
Yes. Now, who is the opera performer? Do we know about the performer?
李雨晴.
You're getting there. It's Li Yugang, right?
Oh, sorry.
What you saw was a beautiful woman dressing in beautiful clothes singing, right? And this is not actually a woman. It was a man, a singer and performer. And Li Yugang specializes in Nandan role. So that's in Chinese, Nandan, which is male who plays a female role in Peking opera. So your answer was correct. Thank you. So what you see is different clothing and voice can give different gender identities to different person because the person was a man. And if you see here, this is the man, Li Yugang, and just now he was performing. So gender could be performed. If you have watched this film called She is the Man, and you can see, let me use my annotation here. This, it was he, and this is a she, but they are the same person in that film. So basically the point here is gender could be performed, and we judge people by their appearance, their voice, and the clothes they're wearing. And also this one. Let's see. Can you hear this? Can you hear the sound? Let me know. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear.
You can't hear this? Yes? Now? Can you?
Now we can hear.
You could, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you. What did you see? Anybody? Tell me, what did you see just now?
I think they're female pop stars actually just dressed as men.
How can you know?
Because
The voice.
the voices, yeah.
Oh.
It sounds like they're trying to make themselves deep.
Right.
But also, you tricked us in the last one, so I just figured this would...
You're very smart. Yeah. And so they are women. And do you know who they are? They are China's boy band. So the so-called boy band, they are females. Yes. And this is called a crush. Yeah. So a crush, this name, ACRUSH, SH. This band originated in Zhejiang province in South China. And A stands for Adonis, the Greek god of male beauty. So really you can see those girls are handsome, right? And they appear quite masculine. But these girls, they are cisgender girls. So that term, CISGENDER, cisgender girls. So what does that mean? That means the girls just performing, like boys. They don't really think themselves as boys. They know they themselves are boys. They know themselves they're girls, right? But they don't really think themselves as boys. So the definition of cisgender, back to my slide here. I'm going to close this one up. Is you can see cisgender is people whose gender identity matches the sex that they were assigned at birth. For example, someone who identifies as a woman and was assigned female at birth is a cisgender woman. It's just like me, right? I see myself as a woman. And I was assigned a female at birth, and you can tell I'm a woman, yeah? So I am a cisgender woman. See, here, this image, cisgender, I'm going to get my pen here, my pen. How come it's still eraser? Anyway, so the first image, cisgender, sex and gender, they do match. Yeah, so that's cisgender. And transgender, they do not match. So in your heart, that's your gender. That's how you identify yourself. But when you talk about sex, that does not match is the opposite. So that's transgender. So the term cisgender is the opposite of transgender. Yeah, so I think now we all understand what that one is. Yeah, so when you come across this term, cisgender, you know what it means. Yeah. And this also, and you can see some examples I put in here. These are all cisgender.
As a matter of fact, for what it's worth, Grammarly can, yeah, that's long. We can get rid of that.
This adds. Just hear the voice, right? Hear that. Beautiful song that I love. I know some of you may like that too. This song is called Big Fish. 大鱼. And I'm going to give this on to you and you can listen to that afterwards. So you can tell this voice is beautiful. It's apparently, you would think that's woman's voice, but no, it's a male's voice. It's a cisgender boy's voice. And this singer is Zhou Shen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure those of you who has a Chinese background, you know who is Zhou Shen. Yeah, but for some of us who, are having an international background, you may not know. Yeah, but basically the point here is voice could be gendered. We could misinterpret someone's gender simply by hearing his or her voice or their voice. Yeah, and another example, very similar example, is this one. Yeah.
就由我们10强选手当中的邝碧。如夜间微亮，花花落地成霜，你在远方遥
下，这里还心慌
Same
忙，
person.
还不做不痛不痒不牵强，都是假象。
两个颜色为你思念成河，化作春泥呵护着我。
轻剑岁月铺满爱人袖，片片芳菲如水流。
Isn't he excellent? Yeah. So both male and female. He say this singer demonstrated. So voice certainly can be very gendered. Yeah. Currently, I can see my internet connection is not very stable. If I drop out, I will come back immediately, right? I think currently I'm fine. It's just a little bit unstable. So if that happens, please just stay there, hang in there, right? And I'll come back. And okay, so back to the slide. That's the second one we saw. And so basically the difference between sex and gender, you can see from this table, one is natural, the other one is socially constructed. One is biological, the other one is social, cultural construct. Yeah, and so gender, when you think about gender, just to think about the term masculinity and femininity. These qualities, and these qualities are all expected roles and some qualities that the society want the person to demonstrate, and which is quite different from the sex that you acquire naturally. And also, sex is a universal term, and for gender, it varies across cultures, varies across historical periods, even it can vary across, say, other boundaries, like class, etc., and ethnicities, etc. So we'll learn more about it. So moving on to the next one, just simply tell me sex or gender when you see this cartoon. Quick. Just one term, sex or gender?
Gender.
Gender, yes, it's gender, because gender is sexually constructed. So the person says, I don't know, I can't talk yet. So when the person starts talking and behave, then probably you get a better idea. Yeah. Or what the parents want the child to be, look like. Next one, as said, we're living in a very gendered world at the moment. So we judge people by their clothing, by the color they wear, and their name even, right? And the career they're having, and public spaces like women's toilet, men's toilet, and a lot of things, right? We tell the makeup that people wear, and all of these. So the connotation of gender here really is shaped by all these social factors. Yeah, so basically we understand gender based on our social impression. So the key term here is a social impression. So we judge people's gender by based on our social impression. So this is a construction relevant to culture. It's formalized in everyday life, and this model is internalized by people. And once this concept is internalized, people, they obey that, and then they regulate their behaviors by having this notion. So despite gender diversity is, embraced by more and more people, especially the younger generation, most people still regulate their own children's behavior based on this gender norms, like the clothes, what kind of clothes they should wear. Like girls should wear makeup and wear pink and wear skirt and high heel shoes. And for boys, they should play cars and they should not dress skirts, etc. All of these are all these regulations that people acquire by either, say, the media, from schools, their parents, or other institutions to regulate their behavior. So all of these elements make our world gendered. And we also see, language here also, I mentioned language could be gendered. I think this is something important that people may not pay greater attention to. So that's why I singled this one out. And you can see, as regulated by the United Nations, some terms they suggest to use, and they think because it's more tolerant, and for other terms they think it's better to avoid. I'll give you one example here in Chinese. It's okay if you don't understand Chinese, but for those, we know a lot of people do. So that's why I'm giving you a quick example here. For those, these are here. Words here are those are less tolerant, and for words here are recommended. So here are the words recommended to be used by people to describe these words. And this is recommended by the United Nations framework. For example, you could say someone, as you can comment a well-accomplished woman by saying she is well-achieved or well-accomplished woman, rather than saying that person is a strong woman. Yeah, and use these words rather than those. Yeah, and if you want to say 众所周知, everybody knows. Yeah, then you just say everybody knows, and you don't say 妇孺皆知, just simply single out women and children. So what's the point? What about men? Are men excluded in this category? Why do you just say 妇孺皆知? And you say 丧偶妇女 rather than 寡妇, because 寡妇would contain this negative connotation when you describe a widow. Yeah. And then just say 男人做家务 rather than 男人帮忙做家务. This means man does housework. So you just say that rather than say men are helping with housework. Why do you have to say helping with housework? If you say this, that means housework are women's natural duty, right? Yeah. So these words contain some of or indicate some of the connotations that are either negative or either sexist or gender exclusive. Yeah, so I consider this would be something interesting that you would like to know. And also in English as well, you use the term Ms, right, here, rather than Mrs. or Miss or a girl, right? So when we are talking to someone, a lady, we say Ms, right? And so because Mrs. and the Miss or girl would indicate a woman's age, a woman's identity, or a woman's marital status. So when we are when we are expressing ourselves or calling someone, we need to have this gender awareness, right? To avoid using language that could create gender stereotypes. Yeah. Okay. And I guess my question for you is, do you know other things that could be gendered? Because I've given you some examples. Think of other examples that are gendered. And share that with us. Just quickly brainstorming. Yeah. If you want to express your point, you can unmute your mic so we can hear you. Anybody? One example about the gendered world that's are not here. outlined here. Anything else that you think are gendered around
I think
us?
another example could be job and professions.
And explain. Yeah.
So, for example, there are a few jobs or professions that you could say that are females or male dominant. For example, teaching. For example, mostly people would in the teaching area there will be more female rather than male, and it's a kind of stereotypes I think as well. Or for example, in mining industry, there will be a male dominant in there as well.
Good. Yeah, that's a very good example. Yeah. And you can see employment, jobs, they're gendered. So that means when you graduate, right? I mean, all of us, not me, when you graduate and you will face this situation, some jobs are gendered, some are fine, less gendered. And some employers would prefer to hire men rather than women, or other occupations, vice versa. So this would create challenges for some of you who would like to go for certain jobs. So that's why we need to debunk these stereotypes and then get to know this and change we're currently living. I think I see someone raise their hand. Yeah, please.
Oh yes, in Chinese language, someone just call his wife as 贱内. You know what I mean?
贱类. Oh.
贱内, yeah. I think this is a very offensive statement. So I think the high inclusiveness statement is 爱人 or 夫人. Oh my. Yes. Yeah. I just.
Right. Yeah. Great example. I don't know that because I haven't. Yeah.
Old statement.
Oh, okay. It's probably in ancient China or in history, or is it still a practice now?
Okay. I think someone still have this habit now, but I think I think it's more and more less.
Yeah. So probably in the rural area and those closed area, the so-called closed, and they're still using such terms. And this is a very
offensive,
derogatory term, right?
Yeah.
And you can see there is a hierarchy, a gender hierarchy there, and the word tells us a lot about male chauvinism and the low status, inferiority of women within the household. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, thank you for your contribution. And next, we are going to look at, somebody's annotating. Okay, or is that me? Me. Okay, so this doesn't go away, right? This doesn't go away, eraser. So it's all right, just ignore that. Eraser. I don't want my eraser now. I want this slide. So there are a lot of gender stereotypes around us. So what exactly is gender stereotyping? This is a simplistic generalization about the gender attributes, differences, and roles of individuals and groups that can be either positive or negative. So pink here represents women, and the blue represents men here. So women, say the stereotypes include people think women are emotional. Most of the time they cry, right? And they gossip, and mostly they're teachers, and they cook. They're Barbies. And nurses, there are many nurses. The majority nurses are females. And then you can see the pink letters there. And for blue, they're males linking to, active, stronger, they are lazy, they're good at computer games, they play sports. I mean, these are all stereotypes, but stereotypes, of course, are constructed based on reality, but we can't always perceive things as what they are and use that to generalize our, the people and the things and behaviors in our life. We need to say these things are fluid. They keep changing, right? They do not stay as what they are all the time. And so that's gender stereotype. Next one is just a cartoon. Can you see that? Let me see if I can move this bar here. Okay, then you can see. The father says, if you were a man, then I brought you to the office today, honey, to show you what you would look forward to. If you were a man. So expectation. Here you can see different gendered expectation for men and women. Yeah. And that's a form of gender stereotyping. Yeah. Which is dangerous and very...
Yeah, so it's all good right now.
I can tell people are speaking. Can you mute your mic? I'm just checking who.
We appreciate that. I was shocked in the morning.
Yeah, I don't blame you. If you worry.
Hey, mute your mic.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Have a good day.
So next time, remember, because I don't know who is talking at the moment. I'm just trying to mute the mic that I see that you haven't done so. Yeah, just make sure it is all clear. Okay. And let's move on. Let's have a short task here. Think about questions like, will that make any difference if we take into account nationalities and ethnicities? Here, linked to gender stereotyping. Gee, here, this is the slide. Linking to gender stereotyping. So will that make any difference if we take into account nationality and ethnicity and the reasons? And what about the concept of class? Yeah. And what about wealth? Are wealth women and poor women judged the same? And are they still stereotyped in the same way? Is there anything that only men can do, whereas women cannot? Or vice versa, just accept the physicality part. I want to give you, say, a few minutes. Think about these questions. Yeah. And then I'm going to get you into groups and have a quick chat about it before bring you back. Let me just clear this. And remember the questions here while you think on your own at the moment. So if we have, say, 5 people, that would have around 10 to 11 rooms, right? We could try that. This is my first time using Zoom teaching. So I think it's not bad so far. And let me try breaking out rooms and we'll come back in a sec. Yeah, remember the questions. We're talking about gender stereotypes and see if there are any differences if we count in factors like nationalities, ethnicities, and why. And what about class? Think about the examples that you've learned. And then it could be, any examples, not from the area of gender, just from everyday life. And also the books that you read and the things that you watched, everything. Yeah, let's do that. Around 5 people per group, or 12. Can 5 or 4. Let's create that and try. And what's that sound? Okay, yeah. I think are you in different rooms now? I guess you are. Let's do it. Oops. So where I am. So Tongyun, where are we a team here? Well, let's see. I should go back to the main room and then bring you back. Close all rooms and bring people back. Okay, now 6 seconds. Everybody is back. Yay, we are back. Successful. So in 40 seconds or so. Okay. So in 30 seconds, you have 30 seconds. $20 seconds. $10 seconds. I think we're back. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Yeah, I think we're back as one big room now. So based on your discussion, is there any example that you can share with us, all of us? Any examples that you thought worth sharing?
Well, I would like to share something. I think that women who are at upper class, they are able to establish more friendship than the women who are at the subaltern group. And however, I have one question. Do you think that the upper class women have more freedom of marriage? Like they could choose their husband?
They have more freedom choosing their husbands rather than lower class women? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I mean.
It could be true. And we can see this as a kind of stereotyping. Can we? Right? And it really, depends on the situation, personal circumstances, right? Not necessarily, but certainly, generally speaking, women in higher class may have much more access to resources. They have access to more resources, and they have more networks. They have more cultural capital, social capital. They are more, better educated than those who are in lower class, especially lower class could be geographically could be very remote area, and those people could be isolated. They have very little knowledge about this policies, legal things, and no internet access, and therefore they have very less resources. So it's very likely the higher class women get a lot more choices, not only just for partner, but for educational opportunities, for more mobility, etc. So we're talking about mobility in week 2. So there is a big difference there, correct? But individually, it could be different. Yeah. And say if you, let's give you an extreme example that is currently running in my head. If you think about the prince, if you think about the prince, say Prince Williams, Prince Harry, do they have a lot more choices? Can they marry, say, someone, from a very poor area, or let's say it, a black woman from Nigeria? It's very unlikely because, say, the British people, they have their expectation, right? Who their princess would be, not someone from, a very poor country. Let's just put it that way. I'm a bit sexist when I am expressing this, but this is true, right? And even for the marriage between, Prince Harry and Meghan. Meghan is from the US, right? And then she is quarterly black, right? A quarter black. So, and that posed a lot of controversy already. Yeah, and you can see, does Harry have a lot more opportunities? Not necessarily, right? Yeah, so that's the example that you can think of. Yeah, very good thinking, Joy. Let's just have this keep this conversation going. I like this intellectual discussion with all of you, and let's just move on. Let me share my screen with you, and please do share whichever that you think you want to discuss or have a question about. Okay. Next concept is gender inequality. Gender inequality. Oh, somebody's phone. Remember to mute your mic. Yeah. Gender inequality. What is gender inequality? It is the unequal treatment or perceptions of individuals based on their gender. It arises from differences in socially constructed gender roles. So examples that I can give you is sex selection abortion, right? Sex selection abortion. Think about the one-child policy implemented in China before 2016. Yeah. So that means that's implemented, yes, from 1980 to 2016. So that means people could choose to have either boy or a girl, and especially given they can only have one child, and the employment opportunity could be also a form of gender inequality. Some jobs they want women, some others they want men only, and wage discrepancy as well. And you can see currently during COVID-19, even during COVID-19, nurses are paid, female nurses are paid much less than males. So this is unequal, right? And sexual harassment, it's certainly a form of gender inequality as well. And domestic violence, we'll look at some of these problems later on. And at the moment, I want you to think about some examples that you read about or you observed. Examples of gender inequality during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is I want to give you 2 minutes, have to think about it. Then I'll share with you my example. When you get an example, simply just turn on your mic and then tell us. Okay, and Annie?
I haven't observed this before, but I'm just expecting. So during COVID-19, I see a lot of unemployment happening, and people are reducing staff to cutting the cost. So I'm expecting that the number one priority in cutting staff would be women employees. I don't know if it's correct. If you can clarify it.
Yes, indeed. Let's say women, especially in hospitality industry. We see in the hospitality industry, in the service sector, the majority workers, they are women and less men. And therefore, what you see from the number of job cuts, they're all women rather than men, because the major reason is the majority are women doing the service job. Yeah, and this is indeed a form of gender inequality, not only because what you see, more women are laid off rather than men, because of the institutional structure. Say when men tend to be hired to do jobs that requires more skills, and that relate to their educational level. And men predominantly they get more access to more resources than women. I mean, all of these factors are intertwined and then cause this structural inequality, which caused the gendered layoff of people at the moment. So what you see at the moment is just not what it is. There is a structural inequalities behind gender inequality. Yes. Okay, good example. Other people?
Maybe the increase of domestic violence during the coronavirus, since the men, they don't have to go out to work, so they might force the female member to have sex with them. I've heard about some news about it.
Yes. Was that in China or in other countries or?
In Middle East countries and African countries.
Yes, yes. Good is actually universal. Yeah. So in the Middle East, in China, in everywhere, in Australia, in the US, we see domestic violence is on the rise, rising, really quick. And I've got some statistics I will share with you later. I can't remember the statistics, but it's a universal thing. And also for that, Australian government has invested enormously just to tackling domestic violence. And forced sex, as you mentioned, is one. And cold violence and all forms of violence, physically, oral, or financial abuse, etc. They're all happening. They're all surfaced they're all surfaced at the moment. I think COVID-19 does allow us to see these things more clearly. And this domestic violence that you mentioned is a form of shadow panic, which means we can't really, see a lot of things, happening because it's not well covered in the media, right? And but because of COVID-19, we see a lot more reportage on this issue. So when it is terrible, it is also good that these things become more clearer to us, so the government will pay more attention to address these kind of problems. Yeah, good. Other examples? Like small, examples that you could do your gender case study, for example. Small cases. I'll give you two just in a minute.
I have one that I noticed in my personal circle, but I'm sure it exists in the wider circle as well. But I've been really lucky that during quarantine or isolation or whatever, I was still able to keep my job. So we all just worked from home. And I know a lot of my female friends with families, even when both male and female partners were working from home, it was my friends who were the moms who are expected to also look after homeschooling for the kids. So yes. My friends were working their full-time jobs at home while being teachers at home, and their male partners were working from home but didn't help with the teaching at all, which, again, it was in my very small personal circle, but I imagine that it is quite a big social thing as well.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that, Steph. So indeed, it's not just what you observed around you, but this is a phenomenon. It happens to a lot of families and a lot of cultures and countries. Women, basically, their workload within the households are tripled. Not really just doubled, but tripled. They are naturally they're taken as natural household duty takers, and they have to do that. And when during the pandemic, when especially they tend to lose their jobs, as said earlier, right? And then they will they will do more work at home. So earlier when they were working, they could do less. But now when they lose their job, they do more, especially given their partner it's still working, and then it's very likely their male partners still have their job, right? So women at this moment they will need to step down and then will even voluntarily lose their job to take care of the home, and plus their kids. The kids are not staying in schools because schools are closed, so they have to take care of their kids at home. And also for countries like in Asia, where women and their partner tend to live with their parents, so when they're aged parents, women also need to take the responsibility to take care of them as well. So their burden really it tripled, and you can tell that has become a social problem as well, not only a domestic problem. It has become a social problem. And let's see now 2 examples. You don't have to understand Chinese, but if you can read Chinese, that would be good. If you see this, this is what is this one? What you see now it's a document published by the Educational Office in Jinan, Shandong Province on 8th February. And you can see this is during the COVID pandemic period. So this document suggests that those families with small children in which both parents were employed, women should take the initiative to apply to their employers for stay-at-home childcare during the school term delay. So I highlighted here in Chinese, it says 家中有低学龄且无人照看子女的双职工家庭，延迟开学期间可以女方为主向企业提出在家看护未成年子女的申请。So women are the one who are expected to take the initiative to apply to their employers for stay-at-home childcare during the school term delay. So what you could see here, say this is a case, right? A gender case we're doing. This is a very concrete one. And what's the problem with this? And you can see this is sexist, right? This is a very sexist advertisement because women are the one who are believed to have this obligation to take care of the family. And that is from the government's point of view. And this is a policy paper. This is a document. So that reflects the patriarchal nature, right, of not China, but the local government authority, at least. It's from Jinan, Shandong Province. And so basically women, their socially expected role is to take care of kids at home, their natural duty. And this is a kind of gender stereotyping as well. So sexist advertisement create gender stereotypes, which is not tolerable. Yeah. And I'll give you another example. This. Is anyone familiar with this before I explain? Simply by saying the image here, Doraemon. Oh, are there people coming from Malaysia? Because I remember when we're circling this map, there are people coming from countries in Southeast Asia, not Malaysia. Okay, so let me explain. So when you see this cartoon, do we know him or do we know this? This. Who is this? I grew up and watched the cartoon, Doraemon. You haven't watched this?
Yes, we have.
Oh, good. Yeah, you watched that, so you know. Good. So let me explain. So under the Movement Control Order, MCO, women in Malaysia were advised to follow the so-called household happiness posters made by women. So the household posters, this is the poster. This one. This is the poster. It's written in Malaysian. We can't understand, but I will explain. This is a household happiness poster. And this poster, ironically, was made by the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry. So terrible, right? And what's the message there is the government asks women to groom as usual. You can see this is all women, right? It's not male. They're all women. The government tells women to groom as usual, to ensure the home was clean during the pandemic and not to nag their husbands. So if things went wrong, they were advised when speaking to their husbands to mimic the voice of Doraemon. Do we know the voice of Doraemon? So the voice is something like this, Doraemon, and then followed by giggling. So this is what the government wanted women to follow during the pandemic. So Doraemon, we all know, this is a Japanese cartoon character who speaks with a very high-pitched voice, followed by pulse. So women were advised to do such things to make their men happy. And ironically, the policy was made by the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry. Yeah. So things like this, it could be a gender case study that you're doing. You basically tell us what this case is, and then you analyze this. Tell us, what do you think about this case? And use scholar literature to inform your discussion. So following the advice from the Malaysian government, a lot of people, they're very annoyed about this. And some of the women in Malaysia, they prepared short tutorials online just to so-called teach ladies at home how to use this high-pitched voice to make their husbands happy. So overall, based on these two case studies, we could see sexism has increased the gendered impacts on women during the lockdowns. And the policies in Malaysia and China not only reproduced the gender stereotypes, but also encroached on the privacy of households, don't they? Because those are government papers. They are, coming from policies coming from the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry. How, what an irony. Things like this is the things that we could pay attention to and note down and then analyze. Yeah, as a gender case study for the assessment. Okay. And when you are analyzing that, make sure that you're also using scholarly literature to deepen your discussion. Yeah, and then use some of the key terms like gender stereotypes and things like this to explain. Okay, so next slide is patriarchy, Chinese patriarchy. Let me just clean up this a little bit. But I think this is the second hour. The second hour, we're taking a break now, 5 minutes. Now, make sure that you stretch your body and walk around, have some water before you come back. Yeah, I'll see you in 5 minutes. Yeah. let's continue. I hope you're there. And now, the other concept is patriarchy, or Chinese patriarchy. So what is patriarchy? To put it simply, is the rule of the father. It's a social system wherein men dominate over women, or male chauvinism. So male dominance is expressed in different ways, say family, and in the workplace, or we can think about one's social positions, one's ownership, and who's control of whom, and the possession of resources, and who makes decisions or not, who has more power and who has more, discursive power, etc. So all of these really shape the gender relations between men and women. As always, it is predominantly is men having this superiority rather than women. And so this is, as you can see from the two gender cases that we discussed, the Malaysian government's poster, and the other one is the document paper by the Jinan government in Shandong province. They're all saying the patriarchal nature of the government, right? And you can tell this is the local culture or even the national culture, right? And it's a very dangerous thing, because once you have this culture, people would use this concepts to regulate their behaviors, etc. Yeah, and let's move on to the next one, gender roles. So what are gender roles? Gender roles are the social roles that a person is expected to fulfill based on his or her gender. So currently, in many countries, like in China, there's just a he or she, two genders. But as said, genders are actually diverse. They're just not just a binary thing, right? And they vary. Social roles vary in different social, cultural, and historical contexts, etc. There are many examples that you can think of when we talk about gender roles. And for gender role socialization is, this term means the lifelong process of learning to be masculine or feminine, primarily through four domains. Socialization, four main agents of socialization: families, schools, peers, and the media. So that's this is what we talked about earlier on. For example, me was a little girl, and now I'm a woman. I learned from my school, and my teachers told me what to do, and then I do as a girl. I can remember, I can recall my experience as a child when I was in primary school, because I used to fight a lot with the boys in class, and my teacher, 班主任, he called, didn't like that. And she had a serious talk with me, telling me not to be as crazy as those boys, because she said, you are a girl. So I can still remember that story, and then I brought that story, the whole life, even till now. So this is a kind of gender role socialization, what your teacher tells you what to do, not to do, simply by virtue of your gender. And also for families, what parents tell you what to do and not to do. And for your peers as well, you get peer pressure, right? I am pretty sure you have got this thing called peer pressure on a lot of things. Yeah, for gender as well. And of course, the media, the news, the program, even the cartoons could be very gendered. You see those masculine boys kicking balls and saving others like a hero, whereas girls are being saved, and Superman. But nowadays we do see superwomen. But back to years ago, it's less gender diversity in the media. So there are more gender role socialization, stereotyping in the past. Now it's getting much better, but it's still there. And all of these institutions, key institutions, are shaping our behaviors, and that is called gender role socialization. Okay, and another case. See, I'm giving you a lot of cases to discuss and to share, and then you simply just keep an eye on these cases around you and do the gender case study. And this, if you see this picture, what shows here is this is a Zhenjiang College, in southern China. The college is running a something called the New Era Women's School Program, teaching female students how to dress, pour tea, and in the name of President Xi's new era, 新时代. So the class, you could see, offering only to female students. There's no boy, you can see. So the class aims to develop the so-called wise, sunny, and perfect women. So wise means to study Chinese history and culture and Confucius values. Basically, you can see it's a form of reviving tradition. And sunny means study oil painting and Attic class, etc. And perfect means study how to dress and wear makeup. This has become quite controversial. And this is a case because, the program is disliked by a lot of feminists. And why do women have to follow tradition by demonstrating all of these things? We're in the new time. Why do we have to revive tradition and then go back, etc., etc.? And what is the political aim behind that? Stabilize the society. Family is the unit of the society for sure, and you want women to be like women, right? To serve men well, so the country can be very stable and in harmony, etc. So are these the political motivations behind? I mean, there are a lot of discourses that you can find out or have your own interpretation. Yeah. So when you talk about gender and you analyze the politics in these cases as well. Yeah. And the next concept is feminism. So this one, you just get to know. You don't have to write everything down. Just get to know the notion feminism. So feminism, because why we're introducing this term, because we'll use this term later on. So just to get to know that, there are different connotations when we talk about feminism. Broadly speaking, feminism is the belief in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes and the social movements organized around that belief. For example, the belief of women and men should have the equal rights to vote, right? And women and men should have equal rights to work and play. Their marriage rights should be the same, and both genders should be away from sexual harassment and domestic violence. So basically, it's something that people think men and women are equal. And this is the thing that you know. There are something that you may not know, which is there are different types of feminism. Say they're liberal, radical, Marxist, and socialist type of feminism. Yeah, let's have a look at briefly one by one and to see. I can actually do a poll here. Let me ask you. See, if I can do a poll. Who considers themselves as a feminist? If I make that anonymous, I should put the question here perhaps, and then answer one is who considers themselves and say yeah, Yes. Nope. And let me try this, asking this question. Does that appear there? Edit, answer. I think I'm going to use this as a question. I think the bar is blocking me. I say save. Yes. No. Okay. And then I say save. And do you get this poll? No, it's not. I'm going to try the poll later on. Don't worry. I'm going to share the slide for the moment. Okay, let's just quickly go through what is liberal feminism. So liberal feminism is, people seek individualistic equality of men and women through political and legal reform without changing the structure of society. So the point here is without changing the structure of society. And liberal feminists calls to eradicate sexism, inequality, and stereotypes. Yeah, and we see many feminism, they are liberal type of feminism. And of course, there are other types. For example, radical type. The radical type of feminism accuse male-controlled capitalist hierarchy as the cause of women's oppression. They blame males here and demands here. I'm highlighting total reconstruction of society. As that's radical, it demands total reconstruction of society. So you can see the difference between liberal and radical. And next one is cultural. Cultural feminism emphasizes the difference between women and men, but considers the difference to be psychological and to be culturally constructed. Culturally constructed, and here, rather than biologically innate. So everything is culturally, and there's cultural social factors around that makes men and women unequal. So there's a difference there between the two genders, and that's why that makes the inequalities around us. And for Marxist feminism, they would blame capitalism for sure, yeah, because they are Marxist feminists. They think capitalism is the root cause of women's oppression, and discrimination against women is an effect of capitalist ideology. It's all wrong. So everything capitalist is wrong, basically, including gender inequality. So that's Marxist point of view. And for postmodern feminism is a branch of modern feminism that believes in multiple truths, a different version of truth. There's not only just one truth, right? And there are multiple roles that people play. And there are different genders, right? And postmodern feminism accepts such kind of diversity. So they believe there's not just a one way to be women or men. There's different ways to be men and women. There are a lot of other genders as well. So as you can see, this evolves from the modern perception of gender, right? And that tells us gender is a very fluid concept. So that keeps changing and keep changing people's perceptions about everything. When you see gender differently, you see a lot of things in relation to gender differently as well. And now let's have a look at the history of women's movement in China. You don't have to understand all the definition of each feminism, of each type of feminism. And just to get to know and see which type of feminism that you align yourself with. Yeah. And I am going to click on the next slide. So now let's have a look at the history of women's movement in China. I'm dividing that up into these 6 points. First, we are going 6 stages. First one, Imperial China. Second one, ROC period. Third one, late Qing reform, and next one, ROC, and as well, and next one is new cultural movement, and then CCP. This is based on the time chronology. Yeah. The first one is Imperial China. So in Imperial China, women had no social status. Women were excluded from social and political life. They're just not taken as as a full member of the family. They were not equal family member as men. And there is no choice to choose marriage partner. And because arranged marriage dominated the domestic life earlier, and they had no right to divorce, they couldn't remarry, and they had no property rights. Many of them, actually most of them, they couldn't receive education. But as you see, as we are trying to avoid gender stereotyping, as we discussed earlier, women of higher class, they may have access to more social capitals and cultural capitals. So that would include education. So here you could see there are differences there, but we're talking about the majority. Generally speaking, women have very little access to all of these resources, and they are sold, they're being trafficked, they're repudiated by their husbands for various reasons, or even for without reason. And they had to follow the Sangang Wuchang, 3 cardinal guidelines, and they were forced to bond their feet, and there was no control of their bodies. They were not allowed to, do a lot of things. There was no personal identity. There is no personal dignity for women. And gender inequality basically penetrated in everyday life. And they're very inferior in comparison with men. And if you think about junior women, younger women, their status inside the family is even lower than the senior women and elder women. So seniority is also something, upheld by Confucianist thinking. And women were judged by their reproductive ability. And there are a lot of regulations on women and very less on men. This is 三从四德, 三纲五常, things like that, the guidelines for women we just mentioned. So women were expected to obey to their father, husband, and son. And you can see there's a big hierarchy within the family. They're supposed to have good morals. And they need to have neat appearance. When you see here, neat appearance, good morals, can you think about the Malaysian government's poster that you just saw? The women were expected to groom themselves well, right? So you can link that even to here, this kind of patriarchal mentality that imposed by the government and the society, and then further on the individual level as well. And they need to express themselves in certain ways, be decent, and they need to have certain skills, especially Nu Hong, for example, crafting skills, etc. So these are all the the shit things that women had to follow during the traditional China. And for food bonding, I know a lot of you coming from China, you know what is food bonding, but a lot of other people may not know. So food bonding was the custom of applying tight bonding to the feet of young girls to modify the shape and size of their feet. So basically, when a girl was born, when she grew up to say 5 or 6 or even teenage, then their parents started to shape their feet to make it small. And you're asking, why are they doing that? Aren't they hurt? Yes, it's hurtful. And but when you do that from little, it's less hurtful. And it's seen as a kind of beauty, a kind of fashion, and that originated from the Shang Dynasty. And some scholarship says it originated from the Sui Tang Dynasty. It's a very popular thing among the top class. Yeah, initially it started from the imperial court. Is those say wealthy people? They were doing that, and then became a fashion, then incorporated by the lower class. Then it gets so popular generation by generation, and basically it's starting from the top. And why food bonding? I have just touched on that. It's a form of beauty, and it's fashionable. It starts from the higher class, and that also helps to increase marriage prospect. Once you bond your feet, and you are considered beauty, and then your parents arrange partners for you, and etc. I mean, it's all related. And also, as women, this is the grassroots, they're following the higher class behavior because this is a symbol of high social status, they thought. Yeah, that's why they're requiring that. And at the same time, food bonding is a form of labor control. And this control will boost girls' contribution to handcraft production. So that, in a way, will increase the productivity and then the production of the handcrafts, and to sell. That will increase the economic performance of these commodities. So all of these factors show, a reason for women to bond their feet. And then you can click on the link to watch that later. And the video shows some women who bond their feet. They're recalling their experience, etc. And actually, some of these women, they documented their stories, their predicament, their tears, their kind of secret language thing called 女书. So 女书is something that women only communicate with women. And all of those, you would see the women's script features some of the food bonding stories as well. Yeah. And of course, there are, I mean, where is it? Oh, back to food bonding here. Okay. This is Imperial China. Yeah, we're in Imperial China. As we said, women's status were very low, much inferior in comparison with males. But there were exceptions. I said, yes, women at higher class, and also women who were partners of the influential politicians, etc. So here are some exceptions that we need to notify, to highlight as well. So Wu Zetian, we know in Tang Dynasty, who was the only woman in Chinese history to assume the title of king, Huangdi, Wu Zhao. So that's an exception. And for Empress Dowager Cixi, the lady here in the middle, is also another exception who has ultimate power to control everything. Yeah, and other empresses were also quite influential. For example, Lu Zhi, the powerful empress consort of the Han Dynasty founder Liu Bang. I mean, in history, you could outline some of the exceptions, but they were rare overall. And moving on to the next stage. The next stage is from 1840 to late 1930s. This is a period where you see dominated by Western powers. In this period, you see a lot of foreign incursions that happened in China. This is a period after the Opium War in 1840, right? So Western power invasion, foreign incursion after the Opium War in 1840, that aggravated the plight of Chinese women. Say, for example, in 1937, Japan launched a war against China. We all know the Nanjing Massacre, right? Nanjing 大屠杀. Over 30 million Chinese were killed that time, and most of them, they were women and children. So within a month after Japanese troops occupied Nanjing, they committed over 20,000 rapes. Perhaps, not everyone knows that. But if you visit some of the museums in Nanjing, and you would find out more information about this chapter of history. And basically, this period is a combination of imperialist, feudalist, and colonialist forces, which led to centuries of miserable lives of Chinese women. So you can see women in ancient China were in a terrible status. And moving on to the modern period, where foreigners and Western powers invaded things, the society started to shift, and women again were undergoing this terrible, terrible experience. And in late Qing period, the late Qing reform era, this is the emergence of feminism and the rise of nationalism period in Chinese history. The majority Han people, they were against the Manchu dictatorship. That's why I put a rise of nationalism during this period. What you see here, the three men, they are who are they? They are late Qing reformers. They are male champion of women's emancipation. So if we see the first man, Kang Youwei endorses Western liberalism. He believes in individual freedom and advocate for gender equality as central for social transformation. So he was a liberal feminist. Now you can think about the term that we mentioned. And he believes freedom of marriage and sexual freedom as well. He thinks marriage should be temporary. Marriage should be temporary. If you see from the perspective of today, I disagree, and but some of you may hold different opinions. But I think this is a bit crazy, thinking marriage should be temporary. And he thought people should sign a contract when they get married, and that contract shall not be longer than a year. So that basically he was saying people should have sexual freedom once they sign a contract and they dedicate it to that particular person for that year, and then they could move on and have a different partner for another year, and then year after year. This is, kind of thinking crazy, I think, for now, but for that time, also crazy in comparison with some of the general perceptions that people think about marriage, which is marriage should be a lifetime thing, not just a yearly contract. And he was against corporal punishment, like food bonding any kind of physical shape of women. He was against that. This is great. And he also organized the first anti-foot bonding society in 1883 to, release women and to help to reshape the understanding about being a woman. Basically, he was saying it's not women's duty to bond their feet. Women have the freedom. They could choose to bond their feet. And they also have the choice to not to bond their feet if they do not like it. Yeah, and basically he thinks foot bonding is also something that prohibits the society to advance. And from that point of view, women should not bond their feet either. And he also established the schools for women, wanting women to receive education, etc. And this is Kang Youwei, the late Qing reformer's story and the things that he believed in, which you can see as quite a lot of contribution, liberal thinking there to women's freedom. And another key person we need to know is Jin Tianhe. Jin Tianhe. What he did was he published something called Women's Bell, 女界中, here written down in the picture in 1903. And why is that booklet very, very important? Because in that brochure, he introduced the term women's right, which is called 女权. So how do Chinese learn about women's right? It's from the term introduced in the booklet, Women's Bell. This is the first time, and that is a milestone. Yeah, let's say if Jin didn't introduce the term and nothing happened, Chinese would have no idea what is women's rights. They would have no idea that women could have a right. Yeah, during that time. So the term entered Chinese social and political discourse for the first time. So please do remember this important point. And in that writing, he outlined women's rights. Women should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, different types of rights, including their rights to education, to suffrage, means to vote, right, and to employment, like males, and to livelihood, and to human dignity as well. So this is really in relation to this week's reading. If you have gone through the readings, that you would have known that particular rights outlined by Jin. Yeah, so it's also essential that you go through the readings before you join the class each week. And for the readings, you don't have to read word by word unless you want to. You can just, read the abstract and the key sentences of each paragraph and also the conclusion. And that will save you a lot of time. So there is some technique when you do the readings. Yeah. And the next period is Republic China. In Republic China, we are thinking we are thinking about the 1911 revolution. The Qing dynasty fell during that time, and then China entered the Republic era. So this regime change really kindled a series of feminist movements focusing on equal rights for men and women, and also the participation of women in politics. So this is the chaotic transitional period provided a lot of opportunities for feminism. And in early 1910s, you saw China witnessed a short-lived women suffrage movement. And this is the first generation of women in China that entered the political arena via nationalism, because during that time, everybody wanted the best for the country, right? And including women. it's via this intertwined with the nationalist forces that you see feminism emerged, started to grow. Yeah, and women wanted their political voice to be heard, to better to better fight the country. Yeah, but though it's very short-lived. And we also know during this ROC period, there's something called the 新文化运动, New Cultural Movement. So that's from 1915 to 1925, within this 10-year period. This is also an Enlightenment period. During that period, men advocated for women's emancipation to attack Confucianism. And as you can see, men basically, they want to attack Confucianism. This is the purpose. And they use women's emancipation as a reason, as a weapon to attack feminism, attack Confucianism here. And also, you may have heard 新青年, that magazine was created in 1915. And in that magazine, there's a forum on women's problem, just run by women authors. And you can see, likely it was the high-class women during that time started to doing these things because they had more knowledge. They can write, and they can they're more literal than the majority women from the rural area. So it was those women elites who run those forums to shape people's thinking about women and gender. And during this time, the government adopted the Western model. They embraced liberation. And there are a lot of circulation of feminist discourses during this time. And just like the magazine, like the forums, etc. In early 1920s, liberal feminism in China emerged, which were evidenced by the publications. Women also different kinds of publications that advocate for women's rights. And women also organized their own activities just for women. And you can see this period that provided opportunities for growing feminism. And also there were petitions launched for advocating for gender equality and women's rights. The significance here of the New Cultural Movement is it really helped to awaken Chinese women. However, it failed to bring fundamental change to gender inequality. People understood these discourses and everything really influenced women and changed their ideas, and women acquired this consciousness to advocate for their own rights and to protect themselves. However, there is really no fundamental change to the social structure and how everything is structured and institutionalized. And as we know, gender inequality has been long centuries, has been centuries old, and how can you just make it transformed? It's impossible. So gender inequality, it's still there. Fundamentally, it's still there. It's not changed. But this is a transition period, though, which is a milestone, a progress. Yeah, and for CCP, it was the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, who actually made enormous changes to gender relations through a lot of legal frameworks, which we will further explain in the following weeks. So CCP, just briefly, the new regime established in 1949, the Communist Party, right? The People's Republic of China, was established in 1949, and CCP, they achieved their great achievement is outlined here. Firstly, they grant gender equality through laws, through campaigns, programs, and ensured women's rights. We'll find out more about this and they eradicated prostitution, and they increased women's social position, and they increased women's literary level, their education opportunities, their healthcare, welfare, etc., etc. That allowed a lot of women to strive, to excel. And however, there are problems with this policies, with these frameworks putting in place, and there are new forms of gender inequalities emerged following all of these policies. So overall, the key takeaways for you in this lecture is we know what the gender study is interdisciplinary. I want to repeat that. I want you to use your disciplinary knowledge, either commerce, finance, media, education, arts. Use the knowledge you learned from other subjects, other courses, to apply that to gender studies in China. And the other term we learned is gender role and gender role socialization, and also fit bonding, and also 今天和 publication, 女界中, the women's bell, the women's bell, the women's bell. Remember that. That's quite important in the history of Chinese feminism, 女权 in Chinese, because that term entered the Chinese social and political discourse for the first time, for the first time. Yeah. And also the significance of new cultural movement we just outlined. And in the very end, I want to send you a reminder here. Don't forget to read before class. Yeah, before class. And there are, techniques that you can adopt to read. It doesn't have to be word by word. Of course, there are vocabularies, new vocabularies that you may come across, and you don't have to check the dictionaries one by one. And there are a lot of new vocabularies for me as well. So it doesn't affect you understand the whole concepts of that reading. And you can find the reading via Legento in Moodle. And it is time to study hard. And I don't want to say see you next week. I want to stay here in case people have any questions. Now, feel free to, I think, let's do one thing. Can I have a small request in the last 5 minutes before you ask questions? I want you to do one thing, which was my request at the beginning, to turn on your camera and say hello to everybody. I think for some of us were sleeping earlier, and now you should be standing up and look around, because this is the end of the lecture now. Excellent. I see some of your faces, and I'm waiting for more people to show yourself, and then we smile, and then at least we could let us to see you. Let us see you. Oh, there are a lot of people still there, not yet turn on your camera yet. Come on. This is nearly the end of the lecture. I want to see you there, and smile. And I want you to stay happy, and one sec. And I'm waiting for more people to stop sharing this. Doing this. Want to your happy faces. Oof, it's echoing the sound a little bit. Just give it a few seconds. Minsun, are you there? Minsun. So, everybody, now we should hello to each other. Yeah, we should say hello to each other and be happy. Now, anybody, if you have any questions, let me know. Excellent to see some of your faces. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions that you may have.
Hi, Pat, can you hear me?
Sure, and this is Who is talking now?
Jaren. Jaren Lee.
Oh, Jaren. Yeah, please.
I just want to confirm one thing about assessment 1, so the presentation. Like the presentation for the online.
Jaren, can I see you on camera?
Okay.
Thank you. I want to see your, your face. Okay, asking questions at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What is your question? The first assessment?
Yeah.
What about it?
So, like for the assessment 1, the presentation for the online class, because I enrolled for the online class, do we just need to record our presentation and then upload it onto Turnitin, or we need to do the presentation during the online tutorial, like during the class time?
In class. You do that in class. Yes.
Not the recording, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So in class, the advantage of that is you get inspirations from people, and then you can use some of the ideas to, to shape the writing of your, what is it called? The critical reflection thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And other people, any other questions?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, and this is
Qijia.
Yeah. Yep.
I just wondered, do we have any attendance requirement for the lecture?
Oh, yes. 80%. Attendance is 80%. And I just want to,
And how do you mark the attendance?
Oh, I can see you there. In Zoom, I can see you there. So your name, once you log in, I can see a list of participants. So that record who is there, who isn't. So this
All
is
right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I encourage you, I require you to come and join the live lecture. Yeah, and we need this engagement. Yeah, simply just listening to me talking for 3 hours is very boring. We need to talk to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Thank you.
No worries. Others? Other questions? Yeah, and Xin Chen. Yeah.
I'd like to know what's the orders of our presentation.
James will manage that. You will see there is a sign-in sheet in Moodle, and so there are 3 classes arranged by different time, and then you simply just choose a topic and assign your name for that particular week. Yeah. So for the order, it's just based on the order that you put in there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And others that I can help with. And if you type, I may miss that. And if you just talk to us, I think this is more efficient. Yeah. Let me have a look at the chat box in case to see if there is anything that I missed. I think there is one question from Maggie saying on the course outline, it says that attendance. Oh, okay, that's already answered. That's so good. Yeah, and no other questions that I can see from the chat box. I prefer you to turn on the camera and let's talk to each other face to face and then answer the questions. That is much better, I think. Yeah, other questions that I can help with. You got time to think for a few seconds? Any comments? Anything you want to highlight? And did you enjoy today's lecture? Did you like that? Yeah, and you can always give me feedback. Then I can adjust my teaching to cater to what you want. Just let me know. That's all good. I won't take that personally. Yeah. Okay, seems there is no, let me see, new messages.
Can I ask a question, Pam?
Oh, yeah, Brendan. Yeah,
I'm just wondering about how the the class works when it's half online, half in person.
Mm.
Are the tutorials at the moment in person, or are they online, or is it kind of a play it by ear?
Yeah, we have one tutorial face-to-face, and we have 2 online tutorials. So it depends on your enrollment. If you prefer to, study face-to-face, you have that choice just to, and then I know a lot of people currently are overseas, couldn't come back to Sydney. So that's why we also have an online mode. And indeed, it's quite challenging, and I'm trying to make it consistent. That's why when you're doing the presentation, we're just doing that face-to-face. And that also online, it's a live presentation as well, And for all the rest, you have this personal interpretation work that you can do just afterwards. And what's the other one? Presentation, and then also research paper or critical reflection. We can get part of this done, especially critical reflection in class, in our later weeks in class while I'm here helping you out, and with you sharing ideas. And that's how we arrange the course so far.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. Others that I can help you with? Nope. And also remember to post your message there, because I will read this. I'll read your, on the greeting wall. Let us know who you are, what you do, and the 2 things that you want to learn from this course. And right down there, I'll read it, and I will include the content that you want me to address. In our later lectures. Okay. So if there's no questions and it's 12:07, we can call it a day. And I hope to see you next week. And later you will meet James. And you will meet James in the tute. And he's a very experienced, very knowledgeable tutor. And and then he will help you out. So we're all here to, willing to help you out. And I wish you have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.